Hi, everybody. My name is Chami Rupasinghe. I'm happy to speak to you about the pain of interoperability and pain of solving interoperability. I've been with Microsoft for 10 years and 6 years specifically in healthcare. I joined the healthcare space by starting in Microsoft Research. Microsoft Research is the incubation arm where we look at Horizon 2, Horizon 3 technologies. And the first product I built when I was in Microsoft Research was Azure API for FHIR. The second one is Azure Health Data Services. And those products it's a data platform for healthcare, as the name suggests. And it's backed by a FHIR server. It's backed by a DICOM service, right? So, and we rode the wave with the introduction or the push for the US to adopt FHIR. I am now in the Dragon. It's one of the first products. Those are one of the first products that, in the recent times, that Microsoft released in the healthcare space. I've since moved to the Dragon Copilot team. If you're not familiar with Dragon Copilot, it's an ambient AI technology that, for example, when you go get care and you talk to a provider, the provider can disconnect themselves from the EMR and actually have a direct conversation with you. The ambient AI listens to that conversation, transcribes it, structures that data, and puts that data in the EMR. As you can imagine, having that AI talk to EMRs obviously requires interoperability, and all of the challenges that go with interoperability in the back end. So my topic here is can't have AI without interoperability, and you can't have interoperability without AI. So this talk is a little bit going under the covers about how we're trying to solve interoperability at Microsoft. Okay. All right. So it's kind of, is this obvious? Can you have, do you need structured data for AI? Do you need to clean up that data for AI? When large language models came about, we got an early look into, because Microsoft has invested heavily in OpenAI, we're like, are we just going to move free text around across systems now and have just AI figure it out? And the answer is obviously no. The way I see AI is like my 6-year-old toddler, right? Like if you say, hey, what do you want for breakfast? And you open the refrigerator, that's just too much information. If I'm like, oh, I want to mix my yogurt with my cake and my cheese, right? Like, it's just too much. You need to give it the right amount of information. You can't give it too little either. You can't just ask what do you want for breakfast, right? And it could be anything. I want cake. You want to say, do you want yogurt or do you want pancakes? And that's it. Those are the only options you get. So you need to be able to structure that data, filter that data, so the AI can have better model accuracy, reduce bias, improve generalization, right? Greater trust and reliability. And if you're training models these days, right, you need for faster training and lower maintenance costs. If you're fine-tuning models even, right, you need that synthetic data, real representations of data. What is the AI going to respond to? You need to be able to. Good interoperability is essential. And why is it such a big challenge in healthcare? And the reason it's a massive challenge in healthcare is honestly the first reason I started building my first product, Azure Health Data Services, because your data is fragmented in healthcare. Your data is in different silos. Your data is in different data structures, right? And the idea is if you can bring it into a common modality, then you can build a longitudinal patient record. You can apply AI on top of it. Your AI can be more intelligent about about how it responds. And so inconsistent data definitions, lack of contextual linkage, these are all reasons why it's a massive challenge in healthcare. Therefore, you need interoperability. So when I first started with Azure Health Data Services, it's a data platform, right? And customers can deploy it on their own Azure subscription. And we'd often say, like, hey, if you want interop, go to one of these experts like WSO2, who know how to transform data, who know how to integrate, who can create that security. when we're building when Microsoft is building and releasing a SaaS product, we want to be able to control that experience from end to end. Because if interop goes down, the end product goes down. So I'm trying to solve interop. I'm solving interop for Dragon Copilot from within Microsoft. So why is it such a challenge in interoperability? You have static mapping challenges, like each system, because of the heterogeneity of systems, each have their own data standard. And even if they're talking, what you find out if you're in healthcare is even if they've adopted FHIR, it's just another standard, right? The customer's implementation of FHIR is different from system to system. So if you have end systems and you need those end systems to talk to each other, you have n times n minus 1 integrations, right? If you have 5 systems, you have 20 integrations that you have to do for those systems to talk to each other, right? So the problem multiplies with more systems that you have. And for customers who, Microsoft is a very enterprise-heavy company, and our customers, as you can imagine, have so many systems that need to talk to each other. This is a massive problem. And what we found is it takes so much time. I'm just checking time here. That manual integration, to be able to design that integration takes so much time, there's so much friction that you need to bring in experts to be able to do that. So my effort was to figure out if we need to empower every customer, every organization on the planet, that's a lot of customers, that's a lot of systems. How can I leverage AI to do interoperability? And you saw a glimpse of that with WSO2's presentation with Ballerina here. But I'll take you a little bit under the covers of how we're doing it at Microsoft. So in the transformation pipeline, in the interoperability pipeline, I break it down into four major categories that you have to do here, right? You first have the syntactic interoperability. That's essentially changing the structure of the data. Then you have the semantic interoperability. Does the data mean the same thing, right? For example, if you have codes, do we have the right codes? Does the data that you transform mean the same thing in each system? Then you have the master data management, right? Does the data, are we linking it with the right patient when we're writing to a specific system? And the last one is sort of the intelligent operations that you want to do. If you want to, for example, if you want to train your AI, you need to de-identify that data first, right? So there's further transformations you can do down the line. So broadly in these 4 categories, I'm going to focus on the first one, which is the syntactic interoperability, changing the structure of the data without changing the data itself. Oh, wrong button. All right, so I've color-coded, I don't know if you can see the color coding properly on here, but these are essentially in the 3 categories of steps that you need to do within a transformation service. Within syntactic interoperability, you have the design time experience, where you're designing the transformation. You have the processing of the data, and then you have the post-processing, right? Like you push the data through it. Did it show up correctly, right? And in each of these steps, I've color-coded where the friction is. The friction is in, the friction is in the configuration of the template, and once you've processed the data, it's validating and making sure it's accurate and modifying the result, right? And this was consistent across, like when we do it internally at Microsoft, and when we talk to customers who are doing it themselves. So traditionally, what would happen is you would go to a partner, use a tool, for example, like Mirth Connect, for example, and you have a data mapper, right? You do fname in one system equals first name in the other. Or you write a template. You write some code to actually transform that data. In Microsoft, we have a convert service, and then we release to open source Liquid templates. Liquid was a language that was popular at the time, and I don't know why we chose that language. It was popular. There was a lot of transformations that was done through Liquid. we just went with it, and we released a whole bunch to open source to enable our customers to move faster. But what we found consistently from our customers was that it was just too much friction to go figure out what the template was, figure out where the data is, and then do it themselves. So my exercise was, hey, can I give it data from source, and can I give it data from target, and have AI just figure out what it is? And I ethically sourced data from customers that are using our products, and did this very experiment itself. The two things that we need the data for is, one is the entity recognition to understand how that data is structured and what that data means. And the second one is to figure out how do we generate an artifact, a template, that actually transforms the data from one structure to the other. Now, the reason we debated quite a bit on does it need to create a template, or can we just have AI just do the transformation itself? But if you want lower latency, right? If you want predictability in how this data in systems talking to each other, you need that integration. You need that you need the template to be able to transform that data. So, really quickly, I'll just give you the punchline to the story of what we found here. I only have 15 minutes, so I'll just talk through it really quickly, which is when you structure, if it's known structures to known structures, we create a more accurate transformation template. If you give it a instead of telling the AI, hey, here's a VT message, just transform it to FHIR, it'll do a good job, but if you give it a structure of how you want it to look like, it performs better. It was interesting to also find out that if you give it more data, generally you would think that if you give it more sample from source and more sample from target, the accuracy of the template transformation would be higher. It is not. There's some overfitting that happens there, and performance degrades. So if you're going to do it yourself, you'll need to sort of assess what that sweet spot looks like. And then we tested on correlated data pairs versus non-correlated data pairs. Correlated data pairs meaning you pre-transform the data and you give it to the AI and say, here's some examples. Do the transformation. It did much better, but that doesn't really occur in real life. It does decently well if you do give it a limited sample of data from source and a limited sample of data from target. Language matters. I told you we used liquid templates. Liquid templates accuracy was fine, but Python, it did a lot better. And the biggest driver of success was that feedback loop, that human in the loop feedback loop, where with each iteration, somebody goes in, checks and validates, and then gives it back to the AI and says, this is right and this is wrong, goes and tags it. It does a better job of creating a final template that works better. So, really quickly, how I'm thinking about the future of interoperability, if I am to get Dragon Copilot to empower every physician on the planet to achieve more, I need to be able to solve this problem at scale, right? I can't be relying on understanding each system, going to figure out how to create an integration. It would exponentially create friction for us to get the product into the customer's hands. I need to be able to scale with AI. I envision that an integration which used to take months, would take minutes. And I'm seeing in real-world data that we're heading in this direction. But I've only solved the one side of the problem. I told you that design of the template first before the processing, that's the problem I've just talked about. There is the other side where errant data comes in. You need to be able to verify if this data is errant, especially if you're talking about AI and AI use cases. Is this data right for my AI? So I need to be able to monitor the quality of the data, sample the quality of that data, and then offer a feedback loop to create self-healing pipelines. And then I can have an intelligent platform layer, an intelligence platform layer that enables me to get to market faster. And that's how I'm solving it at Microsoft. Now, if you don't have the army of data scientists that Microsoft does, if you don't have the ability to hire the experts into your organization to do these integrations, then you can go to an interoperability partner like WSO2. WSO2 recently released the open healthcare platform for payers. And they are a managed partner. I know from within Microsoft that Microsoft doesn't give out. There's been a recent strategy to go deeper with fewer partners. So being a managed partner is highly coveted. And which means that this is a reliable solution that you can apply specifically in healthcare, specifically for payers in regulated industries. My time is up. Do you have any questions for me? All right. Appreciate your time. Thank you.